إلهي لست للفردوس أعلى.
I mean, here in Algeria, we are faced with the three unrest areas, which is Tunisia, Libya, we have a big frontier with Libya, and also Mali. Mali is a country that is facing some major issues. I mean, it can also risk to be fully split. Do you think it's a pure coincidence, or there is probably a plan to destabilize Algeria also?
Okay. There's another reason why Libya was attacked.
Mm-hmm.
That's oil. They wanted the Libyan oil.
Yes.
They wanted to control Libyan oil. And they now have that control. Like they control the Saudi oil. Algeria, amongst all the North African countries, has, I believe, very large reserves of gas.
Yes.
And Algeria is now a major exporter of natural gas. Algerian natural gas is going to Europe.
Yes.
To France. As a consequence of your gas reserves, and also as a consequence of the fact that there is some measure of stability in the society in Algeria. Some measure of stability.
Mm-hmm.
It is very easy to understand that they will not allow Algeria to remain as it is. No. They will devise a strategy to bring internal unrest, to bring chaos to Algeria. They will devise a strategy for regime change so that they can take control of the gas reserves. If the gas reserves are now under the control of Algerian nationalists, who put Algeria first, tomorrow is going to be differently, like Libya. Then there is also the second problem, that Algeria is a vast country, a huge country. And that requires them to devise a strategy for the breakup of large Muslim countries into small statelets. Don't be surprised when Egypt becomes 3 or 4 different countries. Don't be surprised when Pakistan becomes 3 or 4 different countries. And these small states can easily be controlled by the hegemonic power. In Pakistan, of course, the hegemonic power is India. In Egypt, it will be Israel. Saudi Arabia and Qatar, of course, as allies of Israel. Exactly. But I'm sure that your scholars in Algeria, when they know that the plan is to break up Algeria and to take control of the gas reserves, they will be able to understand what is happening in Mali from a different perspective. Yeah.
Well, the population here in Algeria, they are aware because of what we lived in the 90s. I mean, in the 90s, Algeria was a target from Salafis and also some I mean, Islamic fanatics that created some major problems here in Algeria. And do you think that this the destabilization that Algeria lived in the 90s was a part of a lab for the future Arab Spring in terms of destabilization method? Because
What happened in Algeria in the 90s was repeated in Egypt last year. Many people have suffered sufficiently. In the case of Algeria, it was brutal French colonial rule. And the Algerians are a proud people, and they resisted French colonial rule. And when they suffered as much as they did under French colonial rule, then there was a longing in their hearts to return to their original roots. Ahmad bin Bella emerged in the 1960s as a very popular leader. I was a young man at that time, and Ahmad bin Bella took North Africa by storm as a popular leader. And then came the time of Hawari Boumediene. But the leadership was similar to Jamal Abdel Nasser in Egypt. It did not reach the core of the people, their hearts. No. In order to reach their hearts, you've got to touch the world of the sacred. You can't do that with a secular ideology. Okay? North Africa is essentially spiritual. A Salafi version of Islam will not win their hearts. No. No. They're very spiritual. This is part of Africa. I think Algeria and Morocco didn't get it from the Arab world, they got it from Africa.
Exactly.
The African has its roots in spirituality. The Indian and the Persian from Iran, they have the intellectual power. And you had great scholars coming from India and from Iran. But Africa had this beautiful roots of spirituality. And that was retained in North Africa as Islam. So Ahmad bin Bella, Hawari Boumediene, they could not succeed in penetrating the internal, the hearts of the people to satisfy them. Because you have to do that by touching the world of the sacred. The Salafi could not do it. No. You need an articulation of Islam which is intensely spiritual, which is dynamic, which is courageous in opposing injustice in the world and oppression in the world.
Yes.
And when you have that in Algeria, you'll be able to offer a leadership role in Arab affairs. Many, many people have been asking me, I constantly get these questions, what is the place of Algeria and Morocco and Tunisia in Akhirul Zaman? You will be surprised the number of emails I get. I wish that your journal will give this answer to them. That Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, Libya, that is Libya before this revolution, this uprising, you have a role waiting for you to articulate an Islam that is intensely spiritual, that touches the innermost feelings of the people, brings out that which is most noble in them, which is attractive. The Islam of Ikhwan al-Muslimun is not attractive. stuff is not attractive. You have to enforce the Sharia not with a baton. You have to enforce the Sharia in such a way that you're able to demonstrate its superiority over every rival. So that people would be attracted to the Sharia. Rather, you're having to take a baton to bring them and enforce the Sharia over them. That is the role waiting for Algeria.
Inshallah.
That is the role waiting for Algeria, because you got the courage in Algeria. You got the backbone in Algeria. You've got the history in Algeria. Okay? And all that you need now is the scholars who will be able to present that version of Islam, which cannot tolerate injustice and oppression. Not at all. Never.
إلهي لست للفردوس أعلى ولا أقوى على نار الجحيم الله فهب لي التوبة واغفر ذنوبي فإنك غافر الذنب العظيم إلهي لست للفردوس أعلى ولا